In the silent darkness of a pre-dawn hour, a man lay staring at the ceiling of his small Sydney apartment. The clock read 3:33 a.m. There was something in the air, an invisible restlessness, a feeling that life was trying to tell him something. His name was Ethan, a typical Aussie bloke, yet one whose soul could no longer bear the weight of mediocrity. He worked, paid bills, smiled through Sunday lunches, but sensed something inside him was slowly dying. Each day felt like a predictable repetition, a survival loop. Until one night, while searching online for answers, he stumbled upon a question that would change everything. What if money were just energy, and you could reprogram it within yourself? That question kept him awake. Ethan spent days immersed in videos, articles, and books about something called the quantum field, an invisible reality where every thought vibrates and creates, where the human mind acts as a transmitter, shaping the fabric of the universe. He discovered names like Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, and Napoleon Hill, and began to realize they all spoke the same language, the power of a conscious mind aligned with the frequency of abundance. But one phrase in particular became an obsession. Wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. For weeks he ran small experiments. He'd wake before sunrise and, instead of checking his phone, close his eyes and repeat, "I am already the field of abundance. Money flows to me as a natural reflection of my inner state." At first, it felt silly. No miracles happened. No inheritance fell from the sky. But something subtle began to shift. He felt calmer, less desperate. He started noticing small synchronicities, an unexpected email, an old client requesting new work, a random conversation leading to an opportunity. The universe seemed to respond, almost shyly, to his new internal commands. But it was on a rainy night that true awakening struck. Ethan dreamed of a glowing equation in the air, made of symbols and light. At its center, golden letters spelled out, "Reality is merely consciousness imprinted in time." When he woke, he felt something pulsing in his chest, a sense he'd tapped into a different frequency, something beyond words. For days, he tried to decipher the dream until it hit him. The quantum money code wasn't a mathematical formula. It was a shift in state of being. He began seeing everything as energy. Fear was energy. Gratitude was too. And he realized that for years, he'd vibrated in scarcity, constantly saying, "I don't have, I can't, I need," and the universe, like a perfect mirror, simply reflected that back. Now he decided to flip the polarity. Instead of chasing money, he began becoming the kind of person money seeks. Every day he wrote, "I am the frequency of abundance in motion." And something started aligning. The right people appeared. New ideas emerged from nowhere. The impossible seemed merely a matter of tuning. Mornings were no longer gray. The same coffee, the same traffic, the same job. Everything now seemed to vibrate differently, because for the first time he understood reality doesn't change when the world changes. It changes when consciousness changes. And that's when Ethan realized the quantum money code isn't out there. It's within. It's a vibrational pattern that activates when you stop asking and start being. But the world didn't believe him. Friends laughed, colleagues called him a lunatic. They said he was delusional, that success came only from hard work and luck. He just smiled. Because now, while everyone debated economics, inflation, and crises, he no longer saw money as a number, but as an extension of his inner frequency. When he vibrated gratitude, the flow increased. When he doubted, everything stalled. And so, without formulas or gurus, Ethan discovered the true quantum money code: harmony between mind, emotion, and vibration. But this was only the beginning, because the universe, upon seeing a human awaken, decides to test them. Ethan didn't know it yet, but his next lesson would be about losing everything to discover what truly matters. Imagine a story that doesn't begin with luck, but with a discovery. An ordinary man, just like you or me, living in Australia, surrounded by bills, debt, and the weight of a predictable life. He believed success was reserved for others, for those born into wealthy families, those who got opportunities. But everything changed one silent night when he heard an old Joe Dispenza lecture saying, "Reality is shaped by the mind that observes it." That sentence pierced him like a code. From that moment, he decided to run an experiment. What if it were true? What if money, luck, and opportunities were vibrational responses to what we feel and believe, not just what we desire? That night, sitting by Bondi Beach, he closed his eyes and felt for the first time the power of silence. He realized his entire focus had been on scarcity, on the fear of lack. He discovered his body vibrated the pattern of worry, and that attracted more circumstances that made him worry. That was the trap, and it's the very trap that holds millions captive, even those who study the law of attraction. Because wanting isn't enough. You must feel rich before the money arrives. That's the quantum money code. Feeling precedes form. In the days that followed, he began a ritual. Every morning, before sunrise, he'd play calming music, breathe deeply, and quietly repeat, "I am already the man who lives in abundance. Money is merely a reflection of my vibration." At first, it felt ridiculous. His logical mind mocked him, calling it a waste of time. But something in his heart whispered to keep going. And he did. What happened next was so subtle it almost went unnoticed. Small coincidences began appearing. A long-forgotten friend invited him onto a project. An old client returned with an offer. The flow began. The universe seemed to wake up. And that's when he realized it wasn't the universe that had awakened, it was him. He'd awakened from the inside out. The quantum field responded because his vibration had shifted. Napoleon Hill called this the transmutation of desire into its physical counterpart. Joe Dispenza would call it collapsing the wave of possibility. The name doesn't matter. What truly matters is this: when your mind and heart enter coherence, the invisible organizes itself in your favor. In that moment, he understood that money isn't the end goal, it's a messenger. It shows how aligned you are with life's flow. Scarcity is merely a sign of disconnection. Abundance is the natural state of those vibrating in gratitude and faith. What he discovered changes everything. The quantum money code isn't about effort, it's about state. And state isn't mental, it's vibrational. The question isn't, what do I want to have, but who am I being right now? Because the universe doesn't respond to our wishes, it mirrors our identity. In the days following his decision, something within him began shifting quietly. It wasn't magic or miracle, it was awareness. He started noticing how his mind sabotaged him in subtle ways. Every time he checked his bank statement and felt fear, the universe interpreted that fear as a command: bring him more reasons to feel this way. Life simply reflected back what he felt most intensely. So he made a pact with himself. For 21 days, he wouldn't react to scarcity anymore. Instead, he'd vibrate as if he were already prosperous. On day 1, his mind resisted. It said, "You're fooling yourself. Nothing will change." But he silently replied, "Everything is already changing." He knew the brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined, and that's how he began reprogramming his own frequency. Every morning, upon waking, he'd close his eyes and visualize his bank account overflowing, not out of greed, but from a deep awareness of abundance. He saw himself helping others, feeling lightness, freedom, and security. For a few minutes, he truly felt what it was like to be that wealthy man, and the feeling was so vivid that tears streamed down his face without him knowing why. His body believed. His vibration shifted. Joe Dispenza teaches that when the heart and brain enter coherence, a powerful electromagnetic field is emitted, a signal that reorganizes quantum possibilities around you. That's exactly what happened. On day 8, he received an unexpected email. A project rejected months ago had been approved, with payment triple what he had anticipated. Coincidence? He smiled. No, it was simply the reflection of his new vibration. From then on, everything accelerated. Scarcity turned to flow. Fear turned to faith. He realized money was never the problem was the emotion tied to it. When you feel guilt, fear, or desperation around money, you energetically repel it. But when you feel love, gratitude, and peace, the quantum field responds in harmony. That's the vibrational equation of wealth. Emotion creates frequency, frequency creates reality. Most impressively, the more he stopped chasing money and focused instead on inner state, the more opportunities arose naturally. A contact referred him to a partnership. A mentorship that once seemed too expensive now felt like an obvious investment. Every step felt guided. For the first time, he understood what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Consciousness is the only reality." During those 21 days, he stopped fighting life. He stopped asking and started thanking. He stopped doubting and started trusting. And the result was inevitable. His vibration aligned with abundance. The quantum code had been cracked. The secret, he realized, wasn't working harder, it was vibrating right. Prosperity is the consequence of who you become, not what you do. Because the universe doesn't deliver what you want, it mirrors your identity, who you are. As Ethan progressed, he noticed something that would transform his understanding of life. The quantum money code wasn't limited to material wealth. He began seeing subtle patterns across all areas of existence. His health improved without complex medical regimens. He slept more deeply, woke with mental clarity and energy. Even his relationships realigned unexpectedly. Toxic friends drifted away naturally, and positive, inspiring people entered his life effortlessly. It was as if the universe itself was rewarding his vibrational coherence. One day, walking along Manly Beach, Ethan watched the waves and realized life was, in truth, a sequence of resonances. Every thought, emotion, and action carried a frequency, a vibration, and everything interacted in synchrony. He recalled Joseph Murphy's words, "What you imagine and feel deeply becomes your reality." It was no longer about visualizing bank balances or material possessions, but about embodying an identity that naturally attracted abundance on all levels. He was vibrating at the frequency of universal prosperity. Curiously, the more he released anxiety and the need to control, the more opportunities appeared. An unknown client approached him with an innovative project, offering payment that exceeded his boldest expectations. He realized the quantum code responded not to effort, but to emotional consistency and inner clarity.
The energy of gratitude, confidence, and self-worth was the true magnet attracting resources, people, and circumstances. Each small positive emotional step reinforced the field, exponentially expanding his reality. Ethan decided to go further. He created a daily quantum alignment ritual. Upon waking, he'd take deep breaths, feel gratitude for what he already had, and visualize not what he wanted, but who he wanted to become. For 15 minutes, he'd remain in this elevated state, allowing mind and body to synchronize with the frequency of abundance. He didn't need to act yet. The quantum field was already reorganizing possibilities. And as days passed, he noticed coincidences defying logic, unexpected offers, creative solutions appearing from nowhere, doors opening in astonishing ways. His deepest insight came when he realized emotional coherence wasn't just an isolated exercise, it was a way of life. Every negative thought that arose was observed, acknowledged, and replaced with a higher vibrational alignment. The universe, he understood, didn't need to force anything. It simply responded to the pattern emanating from within. It was an invisible dance of energy. Every emotion, expectation, and intention shaped reality. He was finally in tune with the natural flow of creation. The final test arrived unexpectedly. Ethan, who'd been vibrating in abundance for weeks, received news that seemed capable of shattering everything. A major project he believed would secure his financial stability was canceled without explanation, leaving him with doubt and uncertainty. Friends and family began questioning his choices, and the old feeling of scarcity threatened to creep back in. This was the moment the true test of the quantum code would manifest: emotional coherence amidst chaos. At first, his reaction was natural. Fear, anxiety, and frustration surged like violent waves, threatening to erase all his internal progress. But Ethan remembered his lessons. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to vibrational consistency. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and returned to his ritual, feeling gratitude for all that already existed in his life, imagining his ideal reality as if it were already present, and maintaining that elevated emotional state, even as the external world seemed to crumble. The initial tension began to dissolve as he reconnected with himself. In the days that followed, the situation that had seemed catastrophic began transforming in almost magical ways. An old partnership resurfaced, offering a contract even more favorable than the canceled one. Unexpected invitations to new projects arrived, and opportunities emerged in ways he'd never predicted. The test had delivered a clear lesson. The quantum field doesn't respond to external circumstances. It responds to internal consistency. Adversity isn't the enemy. It's a tool to align consciousness even more deeply with abundance. Ethan realized the true quantum money code goes beyond mere materialization. It's about mastery over your own energy, remaining emotionally aligned regardless of apparent outcomes. When you master your vibration, reality adjusts as a natural reflection. The proof isn't accumulating wealth, it's maintaining coherence in chaos, staying centered while the world wobbles, and understanding that flow isn't broken by difficulty, it simply demands inner alignment to continue. The peak of this transformation came when he noticed he no longer needed to do in order to manifest. Wealth,
Opportunities, relationships, and health were natural responses to who he'd become. Everything he desired wasn't out there waiting to be conquered, it was within, radiating through every coherent thought, feeling, and action. Life began revealing itself as a continuous expression of his own frequency. Every small decision, every controlled emotion, every moment of gratitude strengthened the quantum field and attracted high-vibration experiences. Having passed the test, Ethan began noticing something that would shift his perception of everything. The quantum money code was merely a doorway into a far greater abundance, not just material, but emotional, relational, and spiritual. He saw how every area of his life responded to the coherence of his inner vibration. His health improved. Deep, restorative sleep revitalized him with mental clarity and energy he'd never known. Even relationships blossomed. People resonating with his new frequency drew near naturally, while toxic connections faded away effortlessly. He finally understood that true prosperity isn't limited to bank accounts. It's an integrated state of being. Ethan implemented a new daily ritual focused on integrating all areas of life. He'd begin each morning visualizing abundance, not just financial, but feeling gratitude for love, health, and the purpose driving his actions. In meditation, his mind expanded to perceive the universe as a living web of possibilities, where every coherent thought triggered a vibrational ripple across all levels. Money kept flowing, but now he understood it was merely a consequence of the harmony he cultivated within his inner field. As his frequency rose, Ethan noticed patterns in what once seemed like simple coincidences, but now carried deep meaning. Doors that appeared closed swung open unexpectedly. The right people showed up at the right time, offering ideas and opportunities that hadn't existed before. It was as if the universe were conspiring, not by luck, but in response to the coherence he maintained in every thought, emotion, and action. Each small victory reinforced the vibration, creating a virtuous cycle of abundance that transcended external effort. The final transformation came when Ethan realized the quantum money code isn't a limited technique, it's a philosophy of life, a deep alignment between mind, emotion, and purpose. When someone masters their energy, they don't just attract material wealth, they also draw health, harmonious relationships, and spiritual clarity. Abundance ceases to be a distant goal and becomes the natural state of existence. Ethan saw that by maintaining emotional coherence, the physical world simply organizes itself to reflect inner reality. He no longer needed to seek opportunities. They came to him as a direct reflection of his frequency. Now came the ultimate revelation. Ethan stood before the greatest insight of his journey. True abundance isn't something you acquire, achieve, or accumulate. It's a natural expression of inner coherence. He saw that every experience, challenge, and test had been subtle adjustments training his mind and emotions to hold the right frequency regardless of external circumstances. Money, health, relationships, everything is a reflection of your vibrational state, not your possessions. The final lesson he learned is simple yet powerful. Your inner state determines your outer reality. Ethan began applying this awareness to every moment of his day. Every decision, action, and thought was filtered through the frequency of gratitude, trust, and alignment. He no longer sought immediate results. Instead, he cultivated the emotional state that naturally attracted what he desired. Life began organizing itself perfectly, almost miraculously. Opportunities appeared, relationships deepened, creative ideas emerged from nowhere, and a profound sense of freedom filled every instant. The universe responded precisely to his coherence, proving the quantum code never fails for those who remain faithful to their frequency. The lesson Ethan wanted to share is that anyone can apply this principle. You don't need to understand quantum physics or study complex formulas. The only requirement is emotional coherence and clear intention. By aligning mind and heart and feeling your desired reality as if it already exists, you activate the quantum field that reorganizes possibilities, turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth and expansion. There are no shortcuts, only mastery of your own energy, which is the key to creating any reality. As the story draws to a close, Ethan looks back and understands money was never the ultimate goal. The real prize is the freedom to create your life from elevated consciousness, the ability to flow with the universe, and the confidence that when you vibrate coherently, everything aligns automatically. He became, in essence, the living embodiment of the quantum money code.
because he acquired wealth, but because he became abundance in every cell, every thought, every feeling. And so, the journey ends. The complete transformation of an ordinary man into someone who understands the invisible power that shapes the world. The final invitation to the reader is clear. Stop chasing outcomes and start becoming the frequency you wish to live. If you feel it, vibrate it, and believe it, the universe will respond. The secret isn't in external formulas, it's within you, waiting to be awakened.